Carlos says, Friday question, what do you peeps think of this? I have mixed feelings. Offering it as a sellable product or service. Is this a booked appointment type of scenario or on steroids, Frankie Fihn? Val says, how do you make it in a new niche where you have little to no experience as an agency owner? Gavin says, what was your aha moment when you realized you could do more than just trade time for money? Nothing but pure shenanigans. Looks like we're in. We cracked the code. Welcome back, everybody, to another Agency Owners Weekly Q&A. We're talking about your stuff, your questions, all the cool stuff you guys are building, and all of that fun jazz. Just a quick little announcement before we get rock and rolling. Two things. Live event is coming up January 17th and 19th. You guys are not going to want to miss this. We're going to some world-famous beaches. We're having some beach fires. We're going to swim with the whale sharks, and you get to hang with me and do some cool agency stuff and grow your business. And we're creating tools and swipes and just amazing amount of shit. If you guys are looking for details, I will just drop me a message and I will send you the details. We are not full yet, but we will be, and we're probably about 2/3 of the way full right now. Also, I should mention that the wolf pack's just getting cooler and cooler. I'm building right now, basically our funnels, our swipe and deploy funnels for selling your stuff phoneless, and for as well for selling your client stuff phoneless. So that's kind of cool. We've got some working templates on that, so we're templatizing it, so all our members are going to get that. So if you guys are interested in that, check that out, beyondagencyprofits.com. Anyways, enough of me rambling. Let's get into the good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Fihn proudly brings to you our weekly Q&A. All right, first up, we got Olivia, who says, yo, Frankie, know you're not the biggest fan of hiring salespeople, but when you did, where did you find them? What did you pay? Thoughts on native English speaking versus second language salespeople? So this is kind of a deep question. I'll tell you, a lot of when I was looking for a salesperson in the early stages of my agency, I was doing so because we had broken offers. And so the first thing I tried to do was find outbound salespeople, people who would book appointments long before they had the name appointment setters or appointment bookers or any of those things. And the problem I had with that is that they're kind of shit. and it was probably a little bit or a lot mostly my fault because I tried getting essentially commission only people are paying them a very tiny amount of money and then hoping they would get paid for booking actual appointments. And that never panned out for me. I literally tried hundreds and hundreds of people. I don't think I ever found one that worked out. Having said that, if I had a budget and paid a real salary, I probably would have had much better success and attracted better talent. So I don't think it's that can't work. I'll tell you what always worked for us was getting inbound people, because there's a real benefit to being able to say to a salesperson, you don't have to go hustle, you don't have to grind, I'll bring calls to you. Most typical structure, and that's when we were running a lot of Facebook ads and we were driving stuff to our funnel, usually you pay 10 to 20%. My personal philosophy was always pay on the higher end, because I wanted to be able to train and keep top talent. If I paid them the least, yeah, it would make me more money in the short term, but then you end up having to replace people. Having said that, you always have to replace salespeople all the time, because some of the top ones will want to move on to their own thing. That happens from time to time. So part of the reason we moved off of salespeople and went to video is my personal experience with salespeople. Firstly, when you bring them in the door, the best way to find out whether you got a closer or not, give them 5 or 10 calls and let them work through it. And when they're not closers, by the way, which probably 8 or 9 times out of 10, you send somebody some calls, they're not going to be actually a good salesperson, no matter how much they build themselves up and tell you how awesome they are. What they're going to say is, well, I was talking to so-and-so, we had a good conversation. They'll be very optimistic about the calls they have, but they'll have no sales for it. And I remember the first time I got a real closer, his message to me was, hey, the guy wants to know why the link is, I told him it was $2,000, and now the link says $2,500, and we had just changed our price and forgot to update that and tell everybody, so I gave it to him for $2,000. But we updated the payment link for him, and that was the first call. It was how do I take the money, right? Basically, that's what happens when you have a closer. So let's talk about where to find them and then the screening process. Where to find them? For us, just Facebook groups. Like Facebook groups around anything marketing or selling. You post that you're looking for a closer and people will reach out to you. You don't have to fight very hard. And, screen them a little bit. But at the end of the day, you're going to learn more from giving them 5 or 10 calls than you are from endless amounts of talking about it. As I mentioned, we paid 20%. That was inbound, us booking them on the calendar, and it freed me. Having said that, once I got to really understand my market, like in my first one, plastic surgeons, my second one, personal injury attorneys, as I got deep into that, what I found is once you could kind of like speak their language and make offers, it was less reliant on the salespeople. Like if you think about McDonald's or Apple Store, they don't rely on awesome salespeople. Like McDonald's lets the offer do the selling on the sign. Get 2 McDoohickeys for $2.99. Or the Apple Store, the Apple people aren't even trained in sales. Go figure that. They don't know how to sell, and they sell a shit ton of phones. Why? Because the offer of the phone is desirable enough. So it's just kind of like, do you want one? By the way, it does this sometimes for me. I don't see any comments or things like that. So if you guys are saying shit and I'm not responding to it, it just means I don't see it on my end. Should mention that. So anyways, coming back to the salespeople, the other thing with salespeople is you have to motivate them all the time. So like even when I had like real hungry superstar closers, when they have a couple of good weeks, they're like, oh my God, I'm the greatest person ever. When they have a couple of slow weeks, you almost got to like talk them out of writing the suicide note. And since we switched to video closing, that at least does most of the sifting and sorting, like 365 days, 24/7, never takes a day off, always delivers a perfect pitch, even when I'm sleeping in bed, even when I'm hanging with my kids, like shit just works. So I'm not saying you guys have to do video close, but I'm a bigger fan the longer I do that. Having said that, it depends why you're trying to hire a salesperson. If you're trying to hire a salesperson to remove yourself from calls because it's working, that's a good reason to hire salespeople. If you're trying to hire salespeople because your offer isn't working and you're hoping somebody can come in and sell for you and overcome that, in my experience, I'm not saying that can't be done, but it's very, very, very difficult and highly unlikely you'll find that kind of person. But having said that, when you're ready, like there's tons of them in Facebook groups, and just screen them by giving them a couple of calls. Give them like, this is our offer, this is what we do, here's a call. Go see if they can close, right? And if they can't, you're going to find out real fast. And just so you know, there's a time and learning curve with dialing in a quote-unquote closer, because what you're going to have is there's going to be a period of time where you're going to be running ads or something like that, and there'll be no sales as you're trying to bring in the right salesperson and train them and get them up to speed. And then as far as training them, what we gave as training was the simplest thing in the world. Here's a couple of recorded successful calls. Do this. Right? Like, that's it. That was our training program. And we made it real simple. And a lot of times our best closers didn't even do that because they already knew how to close. They just like, tell me the offer, I'll take care of the rest. And that's kind of what worked for us. So I'm not saying that's the right answer for everybody, but I just wanted to share with you guys what's worked for us historically, and hope that's helpful to the rest of you guys who are hiring salespeople. All right, this is a question that got the real hamster wheel turning for me. Carlos says, Friday question, what do you peeps think of this? I have mixed feelings. Offering it as a sellable product or service. Is this a booked appointment type of scenario, or on steroids, Frankie Fihn? It's AI calling that he's referring to, just so you guys know, because you guys don't get to see the image that I see. But he's talking about like an AI like voice kind of booking thing. So here's the deal with that, okay? I mentioned this before, but I think most people build products and services backwards. Like totally fucking backwards. And I don't blame anybody, because that's how I started as well. It's kind of your natural tendency. Your natural tendency to think is, what could I get paid for? What could I do? And then you end up going, should I do SEO? Should I do a SaaS? Should I do AI? Should I do this appointment booking? Should I do this, that? And you end up hemming and hawing and playing with a lot of kind of different angles. And I think it's you have to start with the market, not you. You have to start with them. And what will happen is this will change little details in your deliverable. So right now, for example, a couple of my like long-term personal injury clients have told me that they see like a massive amount of pitches about AI related this and that. AI this, AI that, AI. So if you guys think it's new and different, like the clients at the very least are getting beat over the head. And I'll tell you, AI is just another hammer and people don't care. So like, for example, like, because I mentioned personal injury, I can tell you most attorneys, what they're looking for when it quote unquote comes to leads, they're looking for people who had an accident that was not their fault. They do not currently have a lawyer. They have not waited a long time. In other words, they're in the statute of limitations, and they have insurance. They're looking for 4 things, right? So if I just come to them and say, like, AI, more leads, more calls, more, it's not going to land is if I say, hey, we figured out how to get AI to qualify your people to see if they've actually been in an accident that they weren't at fault for, that they have insurance, they're within the statute of limitations, and they weren't at fault, and they currently haven't retained a lawyer. And we use our AI calling bot to sift and sort that for you. That's going to be massively appealing. And the only difference, by the way, which is the exact same deliverable, but it's a different offer. And the reason it's different is because we started with the market, the problem they're trying to solve. We're trying to get people on the phone who've had an accident, who don't have an attorney, who are in the statute of limitations, who have insurance. Those are the people we're trying to get on the phone. So the more you can start with the person, you can make the AI bot fit what they're trying to do, and you'll be 1,000 times better at selling it. So almost always people, I keep rapping on this and people keep doing it, and I understand because I did the same thing when I first started too. You think about you. What do I know how to do? What could I sell? How could I make money? What should I offer? And the right question to ask to me is it's a 2-step thing. Before you even think about yourself, you have to think about, who do I want to do this for? And what problems do those people have? Which is, in other words, this is called market research. So before you even start thinking about what you should deliver, you need to figure out who you're going to do this for, what their problems are, and then build your solution to do that. Right? And this creates what I call 10-degree shifts. The difference between an AI bot that'll book more calls and more sales and more leads, and that just sounds like noise to your market, versus we built this AI bot to sift and sort to see if people fit those 4 criteria, is going to land massively different, even though it's the exact same deliverable. So a lot of times when people miss the mark, it's really they just don't know what the people in their market are actually stuck on, what they're trying to do, why they're trying to do it, and so they just shout at them what I call the undefined more. Come on down to Frankie Fihn's More Report, where we got more leads and more sales and more customers and more, right? And that's not where you want to be, because that's what everybody else is saying. You want to say something that's specific and meaningful to that person and actually be able to deliver on it. So having said that, AI bots, I'm for them. Use them. They work. But don't start with the fucking deliverable, because you won't be able to sell it. Nobody woke up this morning and said, I really need a Go High Level SaaS. But if they're losing leads because their crews aren't picking up the phone after hours, and you say, hey, this thing can answer the phone after hours when your crews are not at work, and so you have 24/7 coverage and it only costs you $99 a month, suddenly that's more appealing, right? Stop losing all those phone calls that are coming in after hours, right? So you want to start with the problem in the market. Too many of you guys, I say this in the most loving way, because again, I'm guilty of this for probably my first 5 years of business, but you're starting with the wrong person. You start with your deliverable, what I know how to do, instead of who's that other person, what are they trying to do? So this is why I'm so big on picking a niche, because then you have a clear who in mind, and then you can research what are they trying to do. And then it also sets you up for a repeatable deliverable. But I say this because I feel like too many people get enamored with the tool and then have a really hard time selling it because you're talking to the wrong person. Our man Rich, hope that's helpful. Rich says, hey Frankie, hope you're well. I have a few questions that I'd love your insights on, which I've revisited after coming to a few realizations since posting. Ha ha ha. Order of operations. I understand that it's important to post hand raisers to confirm demand of a high ticket offer, and this should be done as early as possible. However, I'm a bit unclear on when to start sharing the Loom link. I initially thought the Loom should go as part of the hand raiser post, but now I realize that it doesn't make sense to create the Loom before gauging interest. So I guess what I'm asking is, how much helpful content should we share before introducing the 5-minute Loom demonstration? What's the right balance between value first, content, and direct Loom? Hope this makes sense, and thank you in advance. You demand, Frankie. May your day be more epic than a lightsaber duel. My day is more epic than a lightsaber duel, my dude. Whoa! The golden dad guns. That's why. You know what's funny? I got kids, they actually to them, I'm huge. So they're like, holy shit, daddy's got the biggest muscles ever. And sometimes I'll mess with my kids where they'll be trying to pick something up and I'll go, let me see if daddy can do that. And they'll be struggling, and I'll grab it and I'll pretend like I can't lift it 3 or 4 times. And then on the 5th time, I'll go, and hold it in the air with one hand above my head, the thing they were just struggling to pick up. only furthering their delusion that their dad is huge. Anyways, that's a little off topic. Anyway, so let's talk about order of operations. Okay, so there is more than one way to be right about this. So I understand the confusion because we have people, by the way, that in our world have success just cold messaging people, sending them a video about here's a personalized analysis I ran for you, and sign clients that way with no build up, no hoopla, all that. Having said that, I personally like to flow or go through the natural flow of how relationships are formed in the real world. Because I think if you just flow with how people naturally form relationships and connect, even though there's a couple extra steps, it'll happen more consistently, more repeatedly, and like shit's just going to work. So if you think about this in the real world, okay, say you saw a girl that you wanted to marry, Rich, and you're like, that's my wife, I know it. The worst thing you could do is walk up to her and go, I want to marry you, I want to have 3 kids, we're going to live in the suburbs, we're going to go on vacation every year to this place, I want you to meet my mom and dad. She's going to be weirded out because that's too much, too quick, even if that's where you intend to finish. And so it's much more natural just to like have a conversation. Are you single? Why are you here? I really like you. Can we talk some more? So things like that, right? So I say that to you because to me, the hand raiser as the gauge of interest is the everything. Because if somebody won't raise their hand, like if I say, hey, this is my guitar, by the way. So if I say, hey, I got a guitar for sale. It's a Martin Sigma series, and I'm asking $800 for it. And nobody says I'm interested, then why do I need to make a video telling you about that guitar? Why do I need to make a whole formality about here's a bunch of content around this guitar? If nobody raises their hand and says, me, I want to know more about that, you don't have to make it. So in my particular case, the reason I say that I like to start with the hand raiser, because if there's no interest in the hand raiser, you don't have to make all the other pieces. And it saves yourself a massive amount of time of building this. Now, things. Now, what happens is when hands do go up and people say, like, tell me more about that thing, and you have verification that at least there is interest in the offer, which most, by the way, again, if they're interested in having a conversation with you, they'll probably date you, and they may even marry you, right? So if it starts well, then what happens is then I will go and create a video summary of the offer, and usually in version 1.0, I want to get as much feedback as possible. In fact, often I will have a back and forth text conversation with the person, figure out all they're trying to do, and then create the video out of the things they just told me. And you know, here's what we built to do that. And sometimes in version 1.0, I will not put the price because I don't want to create 2 sets of things to figure out when I'm troubleshooting an offer. So for example, I want to know that they're fundamentally bought into the idea in my plan, in my process to help them get what they want. And I want to know that they're also bought in the price. And if I do both of those at the same time, now they have 2 reasons they can say no, and it's hard to figure out, are they saying no because they're disagreeing with something I'm saying in the process, or are they saying no just about the money part? So I usually like to start like, this would be my plan or process for you. What do you think? And this is the process of dialing it in. After you've done this 5 or 10 times and closed successfully, you can just put all the details in a video and send people to it. And that video will be calibrated because it's on point. So the flow that I like to use personally is when somebody says they're interested, I'll have a little back and forth conversation about what it is they're trying to do. And usually, by the way, my magic question to get people to like open up to me is like, hey dude, I got a little video, some details to you. Do you mind just sharing me a little bit about your situation and what you're looking to do? And when they tell me about their situation and what they're looking to do, I make sure my offer is calibrated to their situation and what they're actually trying to do. And if it's not, by the way, this is not just messaging. You actually want to change your offer and your deliverable so that it actually helps people to get what they want. I know, crazy idea. But like, we mentioned earlier, if they say I'm looking for these 4 criteria, then I would make sure that like the kind of leads we generate have those 4 criteria. And then once they fundamentally bought into the idea, then I will present the price and say, this is how much I plan to charge for it. What do you think? And if I get objections about that, I may troubleshoot the price. And then once you start to consistently get people to say, I'm in, let's do it. Here's my credit card. Here's the Amex. Here's the Visa. Here's the MasterCard, whatever. Then I just put all the details in one video and send everybody to that one video again and again. So that piece, okay. So I hope that helps you dial in the process, because there's more than one way to be right about this. Hence by the reason, like, there's some people who never close on video and it still works for them. So I'm not saying you have to close on video. The whole point of a video specifically is that if you do thousands and thousands of sales calls, as I have over the years, you just go through the same milestones again and again. And so you can preemptively answer those things before they bring them up. And a lot of times you skip the whole need for a sales call because you answered 95% of the questions they were going to ask you anyway. And then usually they just have a question or two that can be handled over text if they're not already closed and sold. So I hope that kind of clears the mud a little bit. But like, I'm trying to mirror real relationships, and you don't walk up to the girl and say, I want to marry you, I want to have 6 kids. Although if you do that enough times, it probably will work some of the time. But it's much better just to say, you're interesting for these reasons. Can we talk? Hey, can we go on a date? And then so to your question about content is the tool in my mind to amplify the attention to an offer that's working. So for example, like, we got a loom thing that works. And when that is the case, then I want to drive lots and lots of eyeballs to that loom video, so I'll create content. Now, the easiest way to create content, by the way, about your thing, because we don't want to just create content for the sake of content. We want to make content that actually drives sales to the thing we do. And so this is kind of a little bit of an art, but it's not that complicated in practice. If you can just understand ideas equal free and implementation equals money. So I'll give you a couple of real life examples, okay? So we got a guy in our world who does video editing for people, right? So he closes a bunch of people on their video editing service. Well, if you want to get people into a video editing service, the sale that you need to make in your content is that for your target audience to achieve the goals that they want to get, like whether that's a certain type of job or patient or customer or client or growth numbers or a certain number of leads every month or work for their guys or whatever it is they're trying to accomplish, the best way to do that is with video. And by the way, you should believe that. If you're selling something, you should believe what you're actually saying, right? Like, you should believe that the best way to get this result is with the delivery vehicle. And so you just give away the ideas for how to do video for free. And the vast majority of people, when it comes to the stage where they go, that's a good idea, and I want to implement it, cannot do that without you. I'll give you one more example. Hopefully this helps. So we got a couple of people that sell Go High Level SaaS. So they help with Google reviews and run a few campaigns to generate some referrals and clients and things like that. All kind of like automated and Go High Level. Well, nobody woke up and said, I need a Go High Level SaaS today. But people did say, I need people calling me. I need work for my guys. And so what they would do is they would create content that says the best way to get work for your guys, the best way to get like pre-sold leads, the best way to get referrals is to do these things in a campaign that include getting Google reviews and saying this to your past clients. And then what happens when people fundamentally buy into that idea, they need your help to implement it. And I would say, check out my Loom video with details about how we can help you implement it. So like, one leads into the other. And if you do that, that's the best way I found to amplify. But it starts with the offer. Like, most people do this backwards. I saw a post in a group where someone said, I have a course for $222. What is the best email subject line to sell it? And they're starting backwards because they're trying to come up with a subject line that's going to magically sell this course. But what they actually need to figure out is the offer first. And when you get the offer dialed in, then the subject lines and stuff you create are just based on that offer. You're just amplifying attention to that existing offer. So if you think that way first, think offer first, then think sales and content and everything else. That's the magic of a hand raiser. The whole idea about a hand raiser is because you can test an offer really, really fast, really, really lean. You can just throw out 1 to 3 sentences, who'd be interested in this? And if a bunch of hands go up, build it. If they don't, right? And by the way, it only takes 1 hand to go up to make it worthwhile. Like, if you post a thing, I'm thinking about doing this thing for, $150,000, and 1 hand goes up, like, go sell that person and actually build it. Anyways, hope that makes sense, because there's more than one way to be right about this, but I like to fundamentally dial in the offer first, get that working, and then build out my content, my ads, all of that, so that it all drives to something that I know works. And most people do it the other way around. It's a little bit tricky in the beginning because you have to make it really, really lean. Like the offer has to stand alone and work without a lot of sales, without a lot of content, without a lot of hoopla and webinars and build up and testimonials. It has to be interesting enough for people to go, okay, I'd be interested in buying that. Tell me about it. Anyways, I hope that's helpful. Val says, how do you make it in a new niche where you have little to no experience as an agency owner? Well, Val, you don't. You just give up. You quit. I'm just being funny. So this is a question I get a lot in various forums from those of you guys who are just starting out, and you want to make the agency work, but you don't have the case studies. You do not have the excuse me, I don't know why I just butchered that word, testimonials. And also, nobody knows who the fuck you are, right? So you're kind of starting at zero. So I'll tell you the first piece that I always believe is that the most important person to sell on your ability to help another human is you. Not somebody else in your marketplace, but you. Sell yourself. And I call this, I have a funny name for this, but I call this appointing yourself the mayor of Cool Town. So I'll tell you, so there was a weird period where after my first agency, and by the way, it was a very weird period of life. I was first starting to drink ayahuasca. I was having this existential crisis. Who am I? What do I want to do with my life? You know, all those kind of like big questions. Maybe call it a midlife crisis. Maybe I was having one of those. I don't know. But I didn't want to do my first agency anymore. And so I ended up taking out like 3-4 months off before I started my second agency. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I was sitting there in that space. And I remember I heard Dan Kennedy say, can you believe it? There are lawyers who can't make money. Lawyers, honest to God lawyers. And they have a license to steal money from the general public. And I laughed so hard when he said that. I said, I want to work with lawyers because they have a license to steal money from the public. Not a good reason to pick a niche, but it is the reason I in fact, picked working with them. And I remember going to LinkedIn and deciding I was going to prospect for attorneys. And you have to understand, I knew 0 attorneys. I didn't have a friend who went to law school. I had never hired an attorney. I didn't have any in my personal connections. Like I was literally starting from 0. And I remember going on LinkedIn and changing my profile to say attorney marketing expert. And I almost, again, had a little mini existential crisis on the inside because I'm like, can I really say I'm an attorney marketing expert when I've never helped a single attorney? And I sat with it, and I sat with this one question. I said, well, if I actually got an attorney and they signed up and they paid me, could I actually help them? And the answer was like, yeah, like I don't know if I could save the world, but I could improve things. I know how to make better websites and SEO and drive traffic and things like that. And I've had some success in the past with doing that. So I say that to you because the one qualification that you actually need is not case studies, it is not testimonials, is can you, if a motherfucker actually paid you, could you help them? And if the answer is yes, you're qualified. And if the answer is no, keep learning skills until you are qualified. Which is why I say the first and hardest sale is to sell you, that you are worthy, that you're capable, that you can actually help somebody, that your shit's actually good. And if you can make that sale to yourself, which by the way is the hardest one you'll ever make, you'll be far more persuasive with other people. And so now let's talk a little bit about the tactical, not between the ears stuff of like, how do you actually go get clients when you don't have case studies and testimonials and things like that? I'll tell you the biggest reason people will not hire you is not because you lack case studies and testimonials, is because they don't actually have a clear picture of what it is you're going to do for them. I call this your plan or your process. And it needs to be clear. Especially if you want to make it extra clear, do it in pictures. So my favorite example of this, I saw a thread, and this is not somebody I know personally, but they said, how did you get your first client? And they said, they told a story about how a local Chinese food restaurant posted in their city Facebook group. So like, I don't know what the city was, but like Denver, Facebook meetup or whatever. And the Chinese food restaurant posted, hey, we need a new website. And they said they had 200 responses in the first hour. 200 different web designers. Well, they decided to go to this restaurant in person, and they did one thing different than everyone else. They made a printout of their existing website on a piece of paper, like printed out their website, and then they made a mock-up and said, this is what I think your website should look like. And they drove to the Chinese food restaurant, Bumped into the owner, said, hey, do you got a minute? They went during the downtime. The owner said, cool. They showed him the piece of paper. They said, this is your website now. This is what I want to build for you. What do you think? And they left with a check in hand for their first web design client. No case studies, no testimonials, no proof of concept. But the plan or the process, I'm going to build you this fucking website, was crystal clear. So a lot of people have this backwards. They think, hire me, and then I will come up with the plan or process. And I promise you, if you reverse the order of those things, you'll find people pay you far more often. That doesn't mean 100% of the time they're going to pay you. But if somebody says, I'm interested in a website, and you make the fucking website, or at least the mock-up, so they can see what you have in mind before they pay you and say, that's what I want to build you. Or if you're doing SEO, say, these are the keywords I want to rank for you. These are the links I want to build. These are the optimizations I want to make. These are the changes I want to make to your website. And show up with a crystal clear plan because you told me you want this. Or pay-per-click. These are the actual keywords I want to bid on. These are the actual ads I want to run. These are the offers I want to make to your audience. This is the landing page I want to send them to. The more you have a real plan, the more people are going to hire you. So it is not a lack of case studies and testimonials. Okay? You'll go through journeys, by the way, on this, where in the beginning, everybody asked me for case studies and testimonials. I didn't have them, and I lost so many sales because I didn't know how to handle it. Then I did, and I started showing them off. And then eventually you find out that a lot of people who have case studies and testimonials are saying no because they're not crystal clear on your plan or your process. And so what happens is they say to you, like, can you give me more info? Because they're not really sold that you know you have like a clear direction that you know what to do. And they end up just like talking back and forth, like, you know, with your case studies and never buying shit. So I reached the third level where I had the case studies and testimonials and again stopped using them. I'd say, hey, it's been my experience that like you'll spend 3 weeks talking to my case studies and still not decide if it's a no for you. Why don't we just find out like right now? And if you got some unresolved question or something's not clear about you or what we're going to do after, why don't we talk about that right now? And if you really, really want to make it conditional signing up on talking to somebody, I will. But I also don't want to waste your time and theirs. And I would stop giving out those case studies and testimonials. This is my way of saying it ain't your fucking case studies and testimonials. It's that you're not sold you can actually help somebody, or you're not showing up with a real plan or a process that they can visually see this is what is going to get done after I hire us. And by the way, we do this naturally, intuitively as kids, right? So this was me as a kid, little entrepreneurial Frankie, like, I don't know, 10 years old. When I wanted to make money around the neighborhood, there were two things you did, and it depended on the season. Shoveled snow in the cold season, mowed driveways in the hot season. And so when you go to somebody, you go to them and you say, do you want me to mow my lawn for you? And it wasn't about, I got a nice lawnmower, I'll do the cross-hatching pattern. It was like, if you hire me, this is what's going to get done. And a lot of times, we get so caught up in our process that what we do as adults is we go, well, I got the lawnmower 9000. It's really nice. It's really great. This is #1 most recommended. It's push, pull, has start, gasoline, stop, start. And they're like, that's fucking great. Are you going to mow my lawn? Yes, I am. Right? So you want to make what you're going to do much simpler. I'm going to mow your lawn and show them this is how I'm going to fucking mow your lawn. This is what's going to get done for you. This is how we're going to achieve that result together. So, two biggest reasons. I just want to reiterate this for a lot of you guys in there. You haven't sold yourself that you can actually help somebody. If you can help somebody, you're fucking qualified. That's the qualification. This is entrepreneurship is not class where somebody else can certify you and give you a PhD and tell you you're legally licensed and ready. If you can help somebody, you're qualified. And you have to sell yourself on that. And then two, you have to show up with a real plan and process. And that is the biggest thing lacking from most people's sales process. And that's why they're not getting hired, because they're going metaphorically, hire me and then I'll come up with the website. And you need to go, I came up with the website, now hire me. And you'll get paid so much more often. Or I came up with the SEO plan. Or I built the software, I built the tool. This is ready to go. Just sign here, here, and here. And this is why, by the way, if you know that, you can go into a brand new market. You don't have to know anybody. You don't have to have any case studies. You don't have any testimonials. Because you know you can help people and you know you can show them exactly how you're going to help them. Qualified. So I know it's probably a bigger thing between the ears when you're first starting out, by the way, because you think I don't know enough yet. There's people who are better than me at it. But if you can actually help move somebody forward, I think it's selfish not to. Right? Like if I'm driving down the highway and I see somebody with their car broken down on the side of the road and they got a flat tire, and I go, I'm not really qualified enough to change a flat tire. Imagine we're not like on a highway either. We're in the middle of fucking nowhere. And I drive by, and that might be the only car that comes by for an hour. And I go, I'm not really qualified. Somebody else is better suited to help them. I think you're a selfish fucking asshole if you don't stop. Right? If you don't say, hey, like, seems like seems like you're in trouble. Which, by the way, reminded me of a funny commercial back in the day. It's TV commercials, huh? They work. But I remember there were two dudes driving in a car talking to each other, and then there was a hot chick next to a broken down car, and they pull up real slowly to ask her what's wrong, and then they speed away really fast. And the guy says, what are you doing? He says, it's a trap. And he says, a trap? He says, yeah, a trap. What do you mean? And he says, Toyotas never break down. And then the hot chick pulls off a mask, and it's like a secret agent James Bond kind of dude trying to kill him. I thought it was funny. Anyways, if you know how to help people and you got a real plan or process, you're qualified, go do it, go help some people, and in the nicest way possible. Quit being a pussy about it. Don't be shy about helping some people and getting paid for it. Gavin says, what was your aha moment when you realized you could do more than just trade time for money? I've had a few of those, but I'll tell you one of the biggest influences on me personally that shows up in my second book, Passive Automated Recurring Income. I'm going to give this baby a shameless plug. If you have not already bought this baby, buy that baby. #1 on Amazon, 3 categories. Woohoo! So I had a mentor named Ken. Ken built a 8-figure law practice. It took him 22 years. Then he eventually sold that. He built a 7-figure or a multi-7-figure law practice in 3 years and owned a bunch of businesses. And I got a chance to hang out with Ken for like 4 months straight. Every day. Every day we're rubbing shoulders. And here's a guy who's doing multiple millions of dollars a year. And I was there to learn from him, student of the game of business. And obviously help him. That was part of the deal. And I remember I never saw Ken work. It was rare that Ken would work. Sometimes he would write down an idea, but that was about it. The extent of what he did is he came up with ideas. And so hanging with Ken was okay, we're going to go on the boat and do some fishing. All right, we're doing some fishing. When are we going to do this money-making thing? And then he would okay, we're going to go eat some shrimp. All right, let's go eat some shrimp. Okay, how do you do this money-making thing? And then you're okay, we're going to go to the country club and we're going to play a round of golf. Okay, cool. Now we're going to go schmooze by the bar and see if we can meet somebody. Okay, we're going to schmooze by the bar. And I did this for months and months and months. And it's Ken, when the fuck do you work? How are you even able to do, you're making millions and millions of dollars. And he told me about the contrast between his first business and his second, a tale of two halves, if you will, if you want to make this a football game. In the first half, his first law practice, he said, it was 22 years. He said he worked something like 60, 70, 80 hours a week. He became a chain smoker. He was super stressed out. He got divorced over it. His relationship with his kids really, really suffered, and they weren't very close for a lot of years. He said he became an alcoholic, and he almost went bankrupt 3 times in the scaling process because his expenses got so crazy and out of control. And he said it was really, really, really stressful. And I asked him what about your second law practice? He said, I work maybe 5 hours a week. I come up with the ideas, systems and processes, manage everything. I just show up, give them a couple ideas. We have a little meeting just to help out with the implementation, then I go home. And he said something to me that forever changed my life, where he said, I said, how are you able to do that? And he said, well, buddy, I like to do things I can do once and get paid for again and again. And when he said it to me, it hit me like a ton of bricks. It hit me like a ton of bricks where I realized that I had a lot of active income. I had a lot of incoming coming in, but it was all the do once, get paid once variety. And I just had to look at, if I stopped delivering stuff for clients and stopped, moving things forward, there wasn't going to be a paycheck for very much longer. It might take, 1, 2, 3 months for folks to cancel, but there was really just not a lot there. And so it made me kind of take inventory of my entire financial life and go, where am I doing once and getting paid again and again? And where am I doing once and getting paid once? And it was a hard kind of take an inventory because it was all do once, get paid once. And I started to look at all the things Ken had done that were do once, get paid twice, and started to ask myself, like, how could I put that into my life? And so to me, the reason most people, in essence, trade time for money is because in one form or another, they're doing do once, get paid once. And the shift to me is when you start to identify, how can I do once, get paid twice? Tell you one of the simplest ways this shows up in an agency. And the answer, by the way, what I figured out, which is in the second book, is what I would call digital assets. Are you driving value for other people with digital assets, or are you driving value to people with your service and you and your one-on-one help and expertise? And what happened is I realized the more you could drive value to people with assets, the better it was for you and for them. So for example, we mentioned earlier the lady made the Chinese food restaurant website. Do you think that's the only Chinese food restaurant anywhere in the world that could benefit from that kind of website? So to me, before she tries, most people ask a middle class question next. They say, how can I go get hired to make more websites? And when you're in poor and middle class thinking, someone else controls your financial destiny. You have to wait for them to pay you. And it's almost like up to the hiring manager to decide whether or not it's going to move forward. When you are like what I would call wealthy/investor, you want to be paid for your assets. And so you say, hey, I made this website once. How could I get paid for it again? How could I rent? And the funny thing is, once you already made the website, you could go to another Chinese food restaurant, do the exact same thing. Here's your old website. Here's the one I want to build for you. And I'll give you this website for free for 60 days. And then you can just rent it from me for $199 a month, including hosting, for as long as you want to keep it. And how many times could you resell that exact same website? So this is a thing that like it permeates how you set up your agency. Are you of the custom get hired, do once? Because that like middle class, when I got hired as an engineer, I spent all day, every day running around solving custom problems. The more I think like a wealthy investor, the more I'm like, man, I want digital shit to do the heavy lifting. Which is why, by the way, we're so big on video closing and also video hiring and also like video onboarding of clients. Why? Do it once, reuse it. Do it once, reuse it. And how many times can you reuse a digital asset? Even though I said do once, get paid twice, it's more like do once, get paid 100,000 times if you want. So this like kind of like really sets the foundation for how you build your agency to scale. Like most people are doing it in the middle class. How do I get hired to provide a service? And instead of going, how do I give my assets away and get paid for them again and again and again? And what happens is the second time you give away that asset, there's no work. Or almost none. Like the second time you would sell a Chinese food website, or the third time, you might have about 10 minutes changing the phone number, updating the menu. But like it ain't that much fucking work. Like the programming, the site, the template, like the hard work's already been done. So that's why I say to you guys, like this is a big deal, because if you want actual freedom, your freedom has to come from your assets. I have not really heard many people talk about this in the agency world, if any. Everybody else is like selling the tool, the hammer, get rich, go high level SaaS and AI chatbots, but nobody's really talking about like how do you make stuff generate income for you. And by the way, Facebook Live does this sometimes where I don't see your comments and questions, but I know they're there. So when I end this thing and then go back, I'll see you guys like had a bunch of comments and questions, so I'll have to kind of answer those retroactively. But I just wanted to say that because the aha moment when you realize that you can divorce time and money is when you start to realize that like I'm gonna make my income come from digital shit I own and control, not from me and my service anymore. And it's a totally different paradigm that you even approach growing an agency with. I don't know if those of you guys saw, but we had Rebecca Duran and we did the licensing agency. For the first few years, she was running paid ads for clients. And all the same things, the leads cost, it's too much, they don't work, the crappy leads, why did we spend this much that month? I want a report, I want a meeting. And she switched to licensing of like, here's the winning ads we use for our karate school. We will swipe and deploy you. We will make it so that you've got to click one button and answer a few questions, and then boom, it'll copy and paste the working ads in your account, and here's how we cycle between offers, and you'll get people coming into your karate school every day of the week, and you can just license the materials that work from us. Suddenly she's getting paid from her like intellectual property, not from her, I'm the service I'm going to get done. Now, in doing so, part of the challenge she had to figure out is, how do I make this dog shit easy for someone else to implement? And you guys may have to figure that out too. But at the end of the day, like, that's a better problem to have than like, because when you have a service, no matter what anybody tells you, there are expectations, meetings, phone calls, reports, updates. When you're renting intellectual property, there's no fucking meeting requests. There's no update. There's no report, which, by the way, a lot of people have asked me about, like, what am I doing these days? This is why I'm so far outside of the box, because I'm doing deals where I'm renting intellectual property, and I don't really have any work to do other than setting up the deal in the first place. So, when you realize how many of those deals are available and they're actually easier to get than clients, and they pay you more money, and you don't have any reports or meetings or updates, you don't have to fucking hire an account manager. I'm not against all of those things, and I'm happy to advise you guys on how to build those. But at the same time, I feel like they're unnecessary, in that there are better structures that will make your life easier. And it's hard to get yourself out of that mental middle class model of, like, I'm trading money for a service, and get into that wealthy, this is shit I own and control, I will rent access to you. And you can pay me an ongoing fee for access to what I own, control, or have created, and get paid, earn your income that way. It's a totally different game. So if you guys are interested in more of that, you can check out the digital deal making group. Right now we're having folks, we've had a couple dozen people get control of Facebook groups for either free or under $50. And we're going to be showing how to deeply monetize. And you'd be amazed how many Facebook communities get abandoned, and somebody would just give you the keys to the castle where they built a 40,000 person or 100,000 person audience, and they'll give it to you for $20. In fact, I think Anthony just comes to mind. He got a buy-sell group for $20, then turned around and sold a $300 thing, like, first hour of having the group, and 15x his ROI in 10 minutes, and can do it again and again and again and again. Like, how many $297 things can he sell to that group? Again and again and again and again and again. And it was easier than trying to get hired by a client. So if you guys are interested in that, check out the Digital Deal Makers group on Facebook, because we're going deep on that stuff. And that's kind of where I'm at with things now, is like, I only do partnership stuff. I only do rental assets. We have a bunch of legacy clients, and I still help and serve them, but we're not, like, actively building clients because we don't need them. Deals are literally everywhere. In fact, we have the opposite problem where we, like, literally have so many deals that, like, I don't even know how to work with them all. So that's my challenge, to figure out how to help and serve more people in that regard. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys. For those of you guys who missed the intro, the two quick little announcements. One, January 17th and 19th at my house, we're about, I want to say, like 60% of the way full, but there's still some openings. If you want to hang with me, go to world famous beach, swim with some whale sharks, go to have some fires on the beach. And also, what's different this time is, like, content wise, I've trained and taught a lot of cool things, but I realized the real rubber meets the road is implementation. So I've been last 6 months building a massive tool library of tools, swipes and swipe files, stuff like that. In other words, digital assets. And we're going to be employing those in your businesses when you guys get here, so that rather than me, like, teach you how to make an offer, let's create offers and actually put them out and do it in real time and things like that. Or if you need a new, funnel, let's swipe and deploy the funnel and have it built on the spot. So rather than, like, me learn you a bunch, we're going to actually, like, build it. So anyways, if you guys are interested in that, shoot me a message and I'll send you the document with the details. And would love to have you guys. That's all I got for you guys this Monday. Happy Monday. Much love. Appreciate you guys. Oh, before I go, I should just mention, we will not have a call after Christmas. There'll be 2 weeks where there'll be no Frankie Fihn going dark on the Q&As. But I will see you guys again in the new year. So basically, we'll have one last one a couple days before Christmas. And then I won't see you guys again until the new year. But love doing these. Love you guys. Appreciate it. Much love. Happy Monday. May the force be with you. Hey guys, if you like this video, you may also like my best-selling book here, Beyond the Agency Box. It is all about scaling a digital marketing agency while eliminating meetings and phone calls. We actually sell our stuff phoneless. We don't have any client meetings, and we also hire our team entirely without meeting phone calls, which allows us to, like, actually kind of live a life. I've laid out the entire blueprint and everything you need to know, getting clients, onboarding, setting expectations, scaling, building a team, you name it. It has been a bestseller on Amazon now for over 5 straight years, but now you can get it even cheaper than you can get it on Amazon. So I can't tell you the exact price because it may change when this video is released, but there should be a link to it below, either in the description of the video or as well as a pinned comment. So if you're interested in that, check out that video and you can get a copy for super cheap.